I'll be staggered if something substantial, what most people would refer to as a black swan, I will be massively surprised. In fact, I would make a $50,000 to $100,000 bet that sometime between now and August, there is some event that we like, wow, a COVID-19, 9/11 type event. I can't tell you what that's going to look like. Bigger than Ukraine, bigger than Israel, bigger than all the people that are protesting that nobody wants to talk about across major cities all over the world. Like, that's happening right now. Nobody wants to talk about it, but it's happening, right? Look, Michelle, I think we're already at civil. I mean, this is going to really freak people out, but I think we're at civil war in the United States. My thesis for Bitcoin is like every other business where I've made a tremendous amount of money. I build a business. I don't worry about how much distribution it's providing me tomorrow. Brother runs a business that like it has to cash flow tomorrow morning. I don't do that. I invest in private companies or build private companies, build them for 6, 7, 8, 10 years, and then I'm totally underpaid most of my lifetime. This is the trick with successful people. We're grossly underpaid most of the time. And then 4 or 5 times in a lifetime, we get massively grossly overpaid, but it's never balanced, right? It's never perfect. So I think Bitcoin will be $1 million product at some in its future. The question is it 5 years, 4 years, or 10? And to your point, zero's wrong, okay? And people talking about buying 1/10 of a Bitcoin, I think people should be going out of their way to figure out how to own 1 Bitcoin.
World-renowned investor Grant Cardone believes a major Black Swan event catastrophe is coming at some point in 2024. He doesn't know exactly what it is, but he believes it will be a world war or worldwide cyber catastrophe on the same level as 9/11. Cardone isn't just talking the talk either. He's begun selling off his number one asset, real estate, in preparation. He believes there's only one asset that investors should be turning to, and that's Bitcoin. This is insane because it's coming from Grant Cardone, who historically has been incredibly bullish on real estate and has made almost billions of dollars from it. However, now he believes Bitcoin is the only asset that is going to save investors, and even at a 30% weighting, he believes he doesn't have enough. Make sure to stick around to the end of the video where Grant breaks down why he believes the catastrophe is coming and also why he believes Bitcoin is going to $1 million per coin. Also guys, only a small percentage of my viewers are actually subscribed. If you enjoy staying up to date with finance content, consider subscribing or liking the video. It's free and you can always change your mind. Now here's Cardone with why he thinks a Black Swan event is coming.
So let's start there. What percentage of your portfolio is Bitcoin, percentage-wise?
As a percentage at today's price, it's about 30%, and I think it's way too low. I'm embarrassed that it doesn't match my conviction and an understanding of this asset class. And having gone through this before, we all underestimate pain that occurred from these type of events.
And that is your confusion.
It just seems like we're at the precipice of everything breaking down. We have a Fed pal who thinks he's in control of everything, and he's in control of everything until a large sovereign like China releases trillions of dollars with yuan into the marketplace. Europe has to do something. I mean, this debt deal they just announced, I was reading through, it's so complicated. It's a promise to do nothing. I just think we're going to see more flooding of heroin all across the financial industry. I call it heroin because it's the best analogy. You know, junkies either rehab or they die. And this mechanism of being able to print money, it's just too easy. If I was in control, I would print money. I would print and I would print and I would print and I would print until the patient is either dead and someone else has to take care of them. I mean, I think people are grossly underestimating how long this can go on. And that's true of the Bitcoin community. They seem like, you know, hey, this is all going to end tomorrow. But I think it's very difficult to determine how long a Fed can print. And quite frankly, I think most of the population is happy when they print. So it solves voting, it solves unrest. And I think, quite frankly, tightening to 500% from zero in 6 months, that was insanity. Zero was insanity. It's just very unstable. It's very difficult to make economic decisions on large blocks of investment strategy for a family that are based on no fundamentals whatsoever. I mean, we had a war. We were talking yesterday when 9/11 9/11 happened, the stock market went down, 27% in 10 days. When the Israeli thing went off, a month or so ago, the stock market went up 2%. Now explain that to me. For me, it's really fundamentally unexplainable. So it seems to me like someone's the strings behind the curtain, and that's really hard for me to make investment strategy behind. So that really is what leads me to Bitcoin, because it takes me to a safe haven place. But I think we're probably going to be at war this year, and I'm not even sure we're going to have an election. To me, this is a really, really important period in time. Well, I think we have an election, right? We have an election in November, hopefully. Everybody's talking about whether we're going to have a fair election. Hell, I'm just worried about having an election. There's chaos and mayhem going on all over the world. I don't know how a stock market goes up when bigger than 9/11 happened. I don't get it. Seems unstable, sounds unstable, feels unstable. You speak to people that are living in New York like yourself, and I don't hear a lot of happy people living there paying inordinate taxation, and all your billionaires are moving out of town, so your taxation by default is going to go up if you stay there, just as it is in California, and just as we said it would go up in California. For the past 30 years, we've been saying this, that California would have a major, major problem, and it's happening. So you have 22 million people that have been displaced out of the Ukraine. They are women, children, male and female, and I don't know how Europe handles 22 million people. Okay, they're already broke. If the euro breaks apart and the eurozone breaks apart, which I believe that the entire eurozone construct was like paper mache, the UK were made fun of for exiting the EU, and I actually maintain that they never joined the EU because they retained the right to print those £50 notes. So I don't think the United Kingdom was ever a part of the EU. They don't produce anything. They have no energy resources. They have no agriculture. I'm not making fun of them. It's just a fact, okay? Europe doesn't produce anything. So if you got 22 million girls, boys, and children flooding into Europe, who's going to take care of them in the hospitals, the housing, food, the water? And that was before, or that's after the entire Euro constructs just kind of failed. You slammed 11 countries together, 11 cultures, and you're expecting them all to be held together by some notes that are printed with the name Euro on them. So massive debt. I don't know how you work yourself out of this unless you just flood the whole market and we go. This is my prediction. In Europe, they will place multiple trillion-dollar bonds under the guise of clean energy, and they will nuclearize the entire landscape of Europe. That will then literally, there will be very little imports of fossil fuel into Europe, which will flood the rest of the market, rest of the entire world. I don't think we're ever going to see $100 oil again if this plays out correctly, which would be that the governments, to hide the abuse of how they've treated, taxation, they will launch a monster bond, call it the nuclear green era, and man, that is going to have severe consequences on the marketplace. So I could see a massive recession, I could see a depression, but before any of that, I think it's just easier to claim war, a big bad boogeyman, than it is to talk about the incompetency of the politicians. I hate to be so negative, but I think that's where we're at. First off, it's a product it's an invention. Let's think about this as an invention, right? A 21st century invention that happened just to show up at the right time, the right place to solve some problems that we've never, at least in America's history of 180 years or whatever it is, we haven't been able to deal with some of these issues. So we have a 15-year chart. I removed the first 8 years, and I have a 7-year chart that looks very, very impressive. A 5-year chart on Bitcoin is about 600% increase. Greatest performing asset in that period of time, only nearly followed closely by Tesla. So it's not like we're back into 2008, 2013 when Bitcoin was really, really nascent and young. We're the 21st century, 2023. We've got 8 years behind us of decent volume. We have an ETF being launched here. I maintain that in the next 2 weeks, this will be looked upon as one of the greatest investment opportunities that allowed you and I and your children, your aunt, your sister, wherever they live in the world, to front run institutional funding into an asset class that has not been available to them, has not been understood by them, has been poo-pooed and naysayed by them. It's the only time in history I know that you and I and my mom could front run Goldman Sachs, Fidelity, BlackRock, and that ends in 2 or 3 weeks. Once this ETF is launched it's over, okay? The window for you front running the large banks is done. The invention itself is the only finite product I know of other than you and me. You and I are the only true finite, unique, peculiar personalities. The problem with you and I is we die. There's problems with us. People can shoot us. I get involved with the wrong woman. I go crazy, right? So that's a problem with my uniqueness. You're laughing, but you understand. Bitcoin doesn't have that. Bitcoin has all the similar, that you can't produce more Bitcoin no matter what the price is. And that's what I love about the gold, silver, and crude oil players, and in fact, real estate players. I have been surprised that more real estate, gold, and silver players haven't really gotten this very, very quickly. But if you think about being able to buy the finest, what do they say about real estate? Location, 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 right? Well, that means something. That means, that has better value than other real estate. Well, there's only one Bitcoin. Unlike real estate or crude oil, which if we take crude oil to $120, you're going to produce a lot of crude oil that wasn't available yesterday, right? You will do a lot of things to get that crude oil out of the ground at $120. With Bitcoin, that is not achievable, okay? You cannot accelerate the production of the last 2 million into the marketplace. So you can't bring new supply to the market. You can only unlock the supply that's being held in my wallet right now, which I've been collecting over the last 4 years, and I still don't think I have enough. But I think there's going to come a time when, of the 19 million units that have been issued, there's a lot of wealthy people. I think 85% of the super wealth on this planet hasn't invested a penny into Bitcoin. Not a penny. Because my thesis for Bitcoin is not the next 12-month cycle. My thesis for Bitcoin is like every other business where I've made a tremendous amount of money. I build a business. I don't worry about how much distribution it's providing me tomorrow. Brother runs a business that it has to cash flow tomorrow morning. I don't do that. I invest in private companies or build private companies, build them for 6, 7, 8, 10 years, and then I'm still underpaid most of my lifetime. This is the trick with successful people. We're grossly underpaid most of the time. And then 4 or 5 times in a lifetime, we get massively grossly overpaid. But it's never balanced, right? It's never perfect. So I think Bitcoin will be $1 million product at some in its future. The question is it 5 years, 4 years, or 10? And to your point, zero's wrong, okay? And people talking about buying 1/10 of a Bitcoin, I think people should be going out of their way to figure out how to own 1 Bitcoin. And I don't know a lot of people that can't make 40 grand. You can come work with me tomorrow morning. On Saturdays and Sundays in 10 months, I have enough projects around my property alone to pay somebody 40 grand. So it's just about, are you willing to work, save, not spend money on stuff that decays? I think Netflix decays. That $10 a month, $18 a month that I pay to Netflix, it decays. It has no investment value whatsoever. So I would rather take that $15, stop watching that crap, and I'm going to deploy it into a Bitcoin. And then I'll go to Starbucks, and then I'll go to the AMC theaters, and then I'll go, you know what? I'm not going to go to bars and drink a half bottle of tequila with my buddies anymore, right? I'm not going on that holiday vacation for 60 grand. Instead, I'm going to buy 2 Bitcoin, put them away from my family, and wake up hopefully in 3 or 4 years and go, flying the man kicked in, and Bitcoin's worth $250,000 each, which would only make it, if we go back to our 400,000 rich people, I think it's 30 million Bitcoin. 30 million Bitcoin required at a $2.5 million allocation. That is nothing for a super wealthy person to deploy $2.5 million into a portfolio. You know that. So that 30 million Bitcoin, 27 million Bitcoin or something, there's only 19 of free float.
Yeah. And only ever be 21 million. Yeah.
That's right. So those supply and demand metrics for me are I don't think it goes to zero. In fact, I have traded electricity below zero. I have bought crude oil for less than zero, and I've bought nat gas for less than zero. Bitcoin will never, ever go below zero.
So there's Cardone, and it's evident that his warning about a potential Black Swan event in 2024 is a sobering reminder of the uncertainties of our world. His shift from a staunch advocate of real estate to a firm believer in Bitcoin as a safe haven asset is a significant move considering his successful history with real estate investment. Grant's perspective on the possibility of a world war or global cyber catastrophe is a wake-up call for investors to reevaluate their portfolios. If you haven't already, consider subscribing and liking the video to stay updated with the latest in finance content. It's a simple, free way to ensure you don't miss out on valuable insights. Anyway guys, hope you all enjoyed today's video and that provided you with some value. I'll see you all in the next one, and as always, all the best.